Ian Beltre or Marcus Simeon? Marcus Simeon with his second homer of the series, and the Rangers strike first with a 2-run shot here in the second.
And the Rangers get one. Play-by-play voice and Rangers insider Jared Sandler with the call on DFW Sports Station. They win 10-4. They still lose the series. They're 5.5 back in the wild card, 7.5 back in the American League West. Joining us on the D&M Leasing Hotline is the Sandman here with Shan and Bobby. Choppy out on vacation this week. Rank the morning show in order of comedy, 1 through 4.
Like the four of you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, who's funniest?
Oh, man. That's tough. I'm going to go with Peyton makes me laugh the most with some of the funny and dumb things he says.
Yeah.
And his just like total lack of awareness on certain just parts of life.
Right.
RJ makes me laugh, but also makes me want to punch a hole in the wall. So he gets deducted for that.
Yeah.
But it is funny. And then I would go, oh man, it's a tie between you two for third. I don't know who's I'm going to go ahead and give it to Bobby 3 and Shan 4. And I realize that that's a risky decision to put Shan at 4. But Shan, I do think you're funny.
Thanks for your time, Jared.
I think Bobby's slightly ahead.
So you think, though, for the record, that RJ is funnier than Bobby?
Oh, 100%, yeah. Bobby is absolutely not funnier than RJ. No shot.
Yes. All right.
Bobby will have some funny things.
Interview.
Bobby, that's fine. Just like Dan Orlovsky.
All right, I'm going to ask you Scott Braun questions now, Jared.
Bobby will have some funny things, and I think the fan text would agree. And I know the fan text hates me, and that's fine. I appreciate that they listen to the station.
Yeah.
But Bobby will say some funny things, but then he also will say some things that just will annoy the crap out of you when he is so dug in on something.
Yeah.
So I'll go RJ over Bobby.
It's nothing to do with comedy. You're penalizing me for something completely outside the question.
Hey, it's his rankings. It's subjective to everybody. Right? It is. Comedy's like food. It's subjective.
I will say this, Bobby. If it was a stand-up competition, if you guys both did stand-up, I don't think RJ would do well. You are. I find you to be incredibly bright and incredibly thoughtful in your delivery on things. Whereas RJ's just I'm funny. I'm RJ. you would be better. You would be better at stand-up. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
All right. I half forgive you.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
Sandler, how many times over the past month have you said to yourself, this Ranger season is over, they're not getting in?
Oh, man.
Or did you feel it more than a month ago, which I'm sure wouldn't be the best thing for you to say as being a big TV host?
No, I don't think it's. Listen, when they were, it is always tough. I preach, hey, it's a long season, and it is. Look at the 2023 season will hopefully always be, or at least the next few years, a reminder to people of how you can feel like that it's the Titanic that is totally sunk, but it's really not. But so it's always fool's gold in May and early June to just say the season's over, unless you're like the Rockies and you're already 20 games back. That's a little different. The Rangers weren't that. And the Rangers had things you could point to where it's hey, this pitching's great, and they defend well, and they should be better offensively. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that in early June I was yeah, this thing is definitely going to turn around. I mean, it was just tough when you had 2 runs, then 1 run, then no runs, then 2 runs, then 2 runs. It's gosh, give us a sign.
Yeah.
And then once they got out of it, I felt pretty good about them being a playoff team. I think that obviously over this last homestand, I never love when you only have one path in. And right now it looks like the Rangers' only path in is the wild card. It would take a tremendous run in probably winning 5 of your remaining 6 games with the Astros at minimum to overtake them. And that's not even accounting for whatever the Mariners might do. So I don't love that we're sitting here August, whatever the date is, and your only realistic path in at this time is the wild card. But I still think they have a run in them. But this is a huge series, guys. They got 4 games against the Royals. They're trailing the Royals. And then we go home 3 games against the Guardians. The Rangers are trailing the Guardians, so I would say that it would be pretty important for them to win maybe 5 of 7 games this week, and then we can probably have a much better idea. But Sean, I've definitely after some of these games gone home and thought, man, maybe this is just not the year. Maybe it's just not going to happen.
Jared, they had a 4 to 6 week stretch where they were one of the best offenses in baseball, and it's cooled again. What about that run wasn't sustainable? Why is it regressed again?
Well, I'll say this, Bobby, and I said this on the postgame last night, and I'll say this in terms of what they need to do, and this will kind of answer the question. This was a lineup built to slug. This was a lineup that was built to hit the ball out of the ballpark. This was not a lineup that was built to get on base at a super high level. Like the Blue Jays, Rangers just played the Blue Jays. They lead Major League Baseball on base percentage. When Rick Shapiro and Ross Atkins built that roster, I don't know that they thought we're going to lead Major League Baseball on base percentage, but they looked at that roster and they probably thought this is a team that is going to be really good at getting on base. I think that when Chris Young and Ross Fenstermaker looked at the Rangers roster in spring training, and we all did the same thing, by the way, we said this is a team that is going to be among the best in baseball at slugging. And so during that 2-month stretch, they got better at a lot of things, but they were still like top half kind of in slug, but not top 5 in slug, right? They didn't fully show that form. Well, yesterday they had 4 home runs, and I made it's obviously an obvious comment, but what I said to Dave and Mike was this is the version of the Rangers that we need to see if they're going to make the type of run they need to make and get into the playoffs. We need to see the slugging Rangers because, they got, I think, 3 guys. Well, Adolis is on the IL, so take him out of it. I think it's 3 without him. They have 3 guys who oftentimes are in their lineup with a sub-300 on base percentage. That's tough sometimes, but you can get away with that if you start hitting the ball over the fence more. And so I think that was if you were to look at that 2-month stretch, I think that would be the one thing. It's like, man, they're still not slugging the way we think they can, right? The Rangers right now are maybe on pace to have 1 guy hit 25 home runs.
Phew.
That's not to say only 1 guy will, but I think we need to look back at the end of the year and see that 3 guys have gone to 25 home runs because 3 guys have gone on that type of a run over the final 6 weeks of the season. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Jared Sandler here on 105.3 The Fan. Give me a grade today for how it's worked out on their trade acquisitions.
Well, so I'll say this. With relievers, the 2 relievers, Danny Coulomb had 1 bad outing, right? And so because he hasn't had a large sample size,
his ERA went to a 7.
Yeah, I mean, he had 1 bad outing, against Toronto, in which he, for the first time ever in his entire career, he faced 3 batters and allowed 3 hits without getting a single out. That had never happened in his entire career. Danny Coulomb, to me, has been an A. He helped you win 2 games, playing a huge role in late-inning relief situations. Phil Maton obviously hasn't worked out as well yet. He got off to a great start. He won one of the Yankees, I think it was the Yankees extra innings game maybe, where he pitched the scoreless top of the 10th, and that's huge. Like that is pretty significant. But so far he hasn't, with the last couple outings, he hasn't been as good. I'll give him a B- right now. And then Merrill Kelly, he's had 3 starts. I want to give him a pass for the Philadelphia thing. He talked about, he didn't use it as an excuse before, but privately, I think he talked about it was tough getting his family and kids situated and moved. They got school and whatnot around that time. And, he just wasn't sharp against Philadelphia, but he was really good against Arizona. And Merrill Kelly, the pitcher, was really good against Seattle. Merrill Kelly, the fielder, made a bonehead mistake that, he acknowledged. He's like, I don't know what happened when he threw to third with 2 outs. That kind of changed the complexion of his outing. So I think Merrill Kelly has been an A-. So overall, give it a B+ for the 3 guys. But I'll say this. At the end of the year, we need to look at, we need Danny Coulomb and Phil Maton to be studs who get leverage outs consistently when we've got a little bit of a larger sample size to judge on.
How much should Ranger fans excuse CY in the front office for not going and getting that bat?
Well, the one thing I would say is what bats were traded. and the reality is not many were. All right, Ryan O'Hearn was traded. The Rangers, I know it would have been great. He went to Wakeland High School in Frisco, but he's a lefty, and the Rangers really, they needed more of a right-handed bat than they needed a left-handed bat. They needed, if they were going to get someone like Ryan O'Hearn, they needed to be the right-handed version because of their struggles against lefties. Ramon Laureano is a guy who I thought would fit, but San Diego got him a part of a bigger deal, and there's no shame in losing out on a deal to San Diego because AJ Preller just has no limits. He's like the kid in high school where it's like your mom said you have to be home by midnight. Dude, I don't care. It's 12:30, and then like an hour later, you're like, dude, you had to be home by midnight. He's like, I really don't care about any of that. I'm not gonna, So other than that, there really weren't backs. Yeah, and Suarez, I don't know. Like Suarez was great. I don't know that the Rangers, unless they're willing to trade Sebastian Walcott for a rental, are you gonna get Eugenio Suarez, right? And some people say, well, he plays third. That's not a fit. They can make it fit, right? They can make it work. But he's a rental, and you would have had to have given up Sebastian Walcott. And I think there's a guy in Washington named Alex Call who I think would have been an interesting fit. But the sense I get is that the ask was really high, and unless Rangers fans are sitting here saying, I would give up Sebastian Walcott for a role player with control or a rental, a straight rental, I don't know that the Rangers really – I don't think the Rangers really had deals out there that made sense. And I say this, they're not – like Ross Fenstermaker and Chris Young look at the same things we look at. They know that this team could have used a bat. You don't think that they were trying to do it, to bring a bat in? And then if you add that with the fact there really weren't a lot of bats moved at the deadline, relatively speaking. I think people just get, and that's why we have you on to give us the reality. I think people just get pissed off with the thought that, you can make a move. Yeah, the Rangers will make a move, but it's got to fit financially, and, we're not going to spend like the ultimate big market teams. I think that's like in the background. I get that, yeah, and I'm glad you brought the money thing. The Rangers clearly wanted it. This was, whether you like it or not, it was important to ownership that it stayed under the luxury tax threshold this season. The understanding being that they will, will very willingly go over it again next year and probably the year after. And so that also made it a little more challenging. And then, again, I think if you look at the Rangers farm system, it doesn't always work this way, where if you trade for a bat, then teams want bats in return. Pitcher, if you trade for a pitcher, they want arms in return. But if you look at the Rangers farm system, Sebastian Walcott, right, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, but then there's a pretty big gap between Walcott and their next best position player prospects. And so I think that maybe created some challenges as well in conversations they had with other teams, that they looked right at Walcott and said, yeah, if Walcott's not in the deal, then sorry, we're out.
Jared Sandler joining us here on 105 The Fan. Jared, what's happened to Robert Garcia this month? He had been really good for them throughout the year, and it's just it feels dicey every single time he's out there now.
Yeah, no, it's been a really rough run. I think, to not to oversimplify it, but if you look at the command of where he's throwing his pitches, his fastball and his slider, if you just looked at a little chart of where, the pitches that have been hit, where they've been located, most of them have been in, places in the middle of the zone, not working the edges. And he's got really good stuff. But, I mean, it's not like he's throwing 103, right? The harder you throw, the more margin for error. He's not throwing 103. He's still got really good stuff. He's got the type of stuff that could play as a closer. And, he does throw strikes, which is good, but you also got to throw quality strikes. And so, Bobby, I think, and I don't know how much mentally, right? Like that's something I can't quantify. Has it just snowballed? And is he in his head? Does he need some kind of a reset? A part of the problem is, someone asked me this the other day about, why he was used in this spot or that spot. Because the Rangers, for the most part this year, their identity has been a low-scoring team that pitches really well. They're in a lot of games. We talked on Saturday when the Rangers got blown out by Toronto. They haven't had a lot of those games. They've lost a lot of games that have been frustrating, but not because they've lost by 10. It's because they're losing close games that you feel like are winnable. And when you're constantly playing close games, there really isn't a great opportunity for a quote unquote soft landing to ease a guy back in. But so I don't know about the mental side. I can't speak to that, but I know from a more objective side, it just doesn't seem like he is commanding his pitches. And you would have, this is the kind of thing someone would say right now, he's more of a thrower than he is a pitcher.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you on TV tonight. Appreciate you.
You got it, fellas.
Jared Sandler, Rangers insider and play-by-play on the D&M Leasing Hotline.